As dads, some days we feel like we have all the answers, and some days we feel like we don't have a clue. If that describes you, you're at the right place. This is the All Pro Dad Podcast. Hey, I'm your host, Ted Lowe, and I am joined today by Mr. Buck Buchanan.
Hello.
Mr. Reggie Lewis. Good to see you back. Good to have you back, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It has
Good
been
to be back.
Too long. I love this. So each week, as you guys know, we take a look at just one question. We talk about what we've gotten wrong mostly, what we've gotten right occasionally, and especially for this episode, what do the experts say? Because we've been talking a lot about social media and technology and unstructured play and how all that works and it's impacting kids. So this one's got packed a little bit more with some research, which is blowing my mind. To be honest with you, it's a big deal. And our question of the day, Buck, is what?
Question of the day is, help. My kid is addicted to technology. What do I do?
Yeah. What do I do?
My problem is, I think I might be addicted to technology.
There's that. Before we dive too deep into this, what would your dad have said? Your parents would have said if someone said, "What is your son addicted to?" when you were growing up?
Mine was the Lion King.
You were addicted? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I cried until so it got stuck in the VCR because I watched it so much.
You had to play it.
Yeah. Well, no, it got stuck and wouldn't play because I was watching it so much and rewinding my favorite scenes and whatever, and it broke and it got stuck in the VCR and I cried until my parents bought a new one. So I was very addicted to the Lion King.
Wow. So have you shared the Lion King with your kids?
I did
so many times. It's
they
such
don't
a great
like it.
They
don't
care about it.
Are there other movies? Do they care about movies, period, and they just don't like that one?
Yeah, they just can't.
That
had to break your heart in two.
My kids have liked more the live action of all the great Disney movies that came out when I was a kid. They've been watching the live action ones more, and I said, that's fine if you want to watch garbage.
If you watch real people instead of fake cartoony ones. Come on. So,
I did ask my dad this.
Okay.
And I'm proud of this. He said, I would say you were addicted to life. And I was like,
that doesn't.
Are you lying?
I'm not lying. That is literally what my dad said. That's literally what my dad said. And my mom, because I did it in group text. And then my mom texted, he was addicted to the TV.
Way to kill it, Mom.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Mom.
But
I was the same thing. Lion King's absolute favorite movie growing up. And then just all those, the heyday to me of the Disney cartoon movies.
Yeah.
Aladdin.
All those.
Little Mermaid.
I would say, my dad would say I was addicted to being hyperactive, and ADHD, but, probably the three-wheeler. We talked about that on an episode before. We got a three-wheeler, which banned by the government.
How many times you roll it? Like that forward roll, you took a turn too hard.
The evidence of God in my life is the fact that what it would do, it was really heavy in the back. That was and it would, you'd roll backwards. So there was this big hill we would go up to. It was the dike of the lake. And so there's a little road up there. So you had to go fast enough to get up the hill, but not too fast that you went in the lake. And kids from all over the community be over there in their three-wheelers, and you knew some kid was going to take it. You knew he was going to go, I better not go too fast. Don't want to go in the lake. Wouldn't go fast enough and come rolling back.
Wow.
I cannot count. The best moment of my life, though, was watching my brother ahead of me. I watched his left foot go under his tire and it roll him over. And I was so used to him beating me up. I was like, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. He just got the beating of his life by a three-wheeler. Fantastic.
Thank you, Lord.
And Andy, if you're listening, I don't regret this joy that it brings me. So we're addicted to everything. That's a little bit technology with movies, but right now, the easiest thing for kids to become addicted to is to technology. Studies are calling screens digital heroin, and electronic cocaine, and brain imaging research shows that screens affect the portion of the brain that controls functioning and impulse control. And it does this the same way cocaine does. So this is one of those, not to be an alarmist, but I'm going to be an alarmist. Like, this is this thing, as you're seeing all this research going, whoa, this is really not just, hey, maybe they shouldn't be on screens. This is a big deal. We've referenced this a lot, this book, The Anxious Generation. It's just so powerful, and we're learning so much. A couple of stats for us on that. Screen time, the average screen time for children aged 8 through 12 has increased to nearly 5 hours a day. And for teenagers ages 13 to 18, exceeds 7 hours a day. Sleep deprivation, over 70% of teenagers report that they do not get the recommended amount of sleep due to staying up late on their devices, which has increased the rates of anxiety, depression, and poor academic performance.
So does this include, is this just at home, like after school, or does this include like at school? Because my beef with their school system now is that they don't read books on paper anymore. It's all on the screen.
No, this is not including time spent.
So it's even worse.
Yeah. And it also, there's this huge thing with sleep deprivation. Over 70% of teenagers report that they do not get the recommended amount of sleep due to staying up too late on their devices, which is linked to increased rates of anxiety, depression, and poor academic performance. This is huge. Attention span, just a couple more. Attention span, research indicates that the average attention span of teenagers has decreased by nearly 50% over the last 15 years, partly due to the constant interruptions and multitasking encouraged by digital devices. Have you guys, how have you struggled with, do you think it's increased or changed your attention span? Buck, you and I laugh a lot, but it's true. We both struggle with ADHD. And so I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
I've always struggled with it.
For myself, I love to read books, but I have noticed in the past year that it's really hard for me to read like consecutive sentences. Like I can't even get to a paragraph without my mind wandering. And I've reading and hearing those stats, I understand why, you know.
So that's a new thing. Like used to books, you're eating them alive, and now that's changed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll get to one sentence and then again I'll get to the second sentence and I'm like, what just happened?
But tell our listeners how old your kids are.
Yeah, so I have an 8-year-old Grace, a 6-year-old Noah, and then a 3-year-old Zacharias.
So there's your problem. It's not devices. It's that your children are that age. That's why you've. I'm just kidding. He's looking at me. He's looking at me serious. Like, yeah, I know, man. I know.
Yeah. So I've noticed that, you know, from historically being a reader, that now in the past year I have struggled to read a book through, right? And just from going from sentence to sentence, like my attention span is just dwindled. And so hearing these stats, I can only imagine what it's seriously doing to like my 8-year-old or 6-year-old or 3-year-old technology. Yeah. So,
because it's doing the same to us, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at this. Another stat that I thought was telling is that 72% of parents express concern about their children's screen time and its impact on their mental health. Like, we're seeing it. And it said, but many feel ill-equipped to manage or mitigate these effects effectively. Like they're going, I see this. I don't know what to do with. That's why I've loved this book so much, because he's saying, hey, there's good news. You're not powerless. Just like in every area of being a dad. Here's some tips that he gives us. Number one, he says open communication. So let me ask you guys, how can you make sure your kids keep talking to you about technology? How do we keep that open communication going?
Well, I take an interest to what they're doing. I know growing up, I can't recall like my parents taking an interest or having the time to be interested in what I was doing. But I take that time, so then there is that clear communication, and they're not, stumbling into something that I'm unaware of. So my kids play Roblox, and I'm like, okay, so let's get down in some Roblox. Like I'll play too. I'm a gamer. Sure. Like let's do this. And so, so I like that, because then again, I'm not confused or out of the loop of what they're doing. And they're like, well, Dad likes it. It must be all right. And, I don't want to hide XYZ from him. So, that's how the route I go.
Well, and I think for our stage as well, like I have younger kids, 10 and 7, and you have younger kids. I'd be interested to know from you, maybe from you, about older kids, but right now all of their tech is within the confines of like the living room or whatever. There's not really any time where they're on tech that they're not in a public room or anything. Like they don't have phones, so they're not going to their bedroom and spending all their time on their phone. And so that's, I think, the like the honeymoon stage of this whole tech thing with us and the kids is that we have control over it because it's all out there in the living room and that's it, or it's tied to the TV or something. And so, but I'm just like, what am I even going to do when they get their own cell phone?
Right. Right. Well, I think.
Or am I not buying a phone until they're 30?
Which is a great idea. I think with both of you, you're playing the games. Buck,
yeah, me too. Yeah, we love gaming.
You play and you see them around you, so you're having communication. I think that the one thing that I would watch with my kids with this was not villainizing video games or whatever, because I was told early on, you love what they love. And so it would be a thing like they would like me to watch them play, which I would rather chew glass than watch someone play a video game. But I think it's knowing what's going on with it, seeing what they're playing. There was a few games that I did that I would play with them. Like once the controllers got way too many buttons, I'm out. Like I'm going, I need like a joystick and one button. Like once Nintendo, I was out. But I think open communication.
Ever heard of Atari?
Beep, beep. I do the joystick. Number 2, he says to set clear screen time limits. So how do you guys do that in a way? Have you found a way that you do that works?
Yes and no. We're bad about it because I'm bad about it. Like, again, like I said at the top, I might be addicted to technology. But it's just so ingrained in even what I do, being a video and audio producer, so that's the tension, that's the rub. But one thing that we did, especially in the school year, we've been more lax when we get into the summer times and stuff like that. But during school, no video games at all during the week. So video games is weekend only, and it starts Friday after school and it stops Sunday afternoon. And so Sunday evening leading into Monday, like that's where screens are off, we're reading, we're hanging out, we're playing board games, but we're getting ready for the next school day.
I think that's exactly what he's talking about.
How much time on the weekend do they get?
We didn't really have to set that because we still would fill our weekend with stuff to do.
Oh, okay.
And so we're going out, we're swimming, or they want to swim in the pool, or, we're doing yard work, or we're going to Mimi's house. So obviously we're not gonna play video games at Mimi's, so it's stuff like that. So we didn't really have to set those boundaries. So that's where we've been able to be lenient and kind of relax with that.
Right.
But
yeah, I have tried everything as far as like setting the limits. On the iPads, you can do their certain time frames and everything.
We do that too.
And the kids figured out the password to go play in another 15 minutes or, keep playing for the rest of the day. And like as a parent and my wife and I, like we're busy too, right? And so we're like, oh my goodness. Like just let them play another 15 minutes, let them play another hour.
Sure.
And before we know it, 4 hours then went by and that's all they've been doing. And so, now we keep having to go back to, all right, let's set the 30 minutes now.
Right.
And you give the 30 minutes to the kids, and I'm sure
30 minutes at a video game is, if you game at all, like 30 minutes at a video game is hard. It's not a lot.
It's not a lot,
You're
right?
like, I just got through the menu.
Right. Well, our kids, they go to, you know, and I'm sure other dads experience this, like, but the game froze in for the last 5 minutes. I need another
It's been loading.
20 minutes to play. And you're like, no, like that's not it. So we try, and, you know, we then give in, and then, you know, we have to be on the same page, my wife and I, and then we're sometimes not. Yeah. And so we're trial and error on just about every, you know, time limitation that we place on the games.
Well, and I think
our technology.
There's probably a lot of dads listening going, okay, I get it. We've got our rules. I need to enforce them. I mean, I think that's what I'm hearing from. We all know we need to do it. Yes. Like to go, what are they?
Inconsistency. Like I hear that too.
Inconsistency.
Inconsistent.
And this one's, the other one he says is create tech-free zones and time. So this goes from, hey, you can have a limited amount of time. So what are the zones that you're not allowed to have them? At our house, it's always been in the car, except on long trips, and then I punt because I'm like, you do, just don't talk. And so in the car, meal times for sure, and then not in their rooms, just because for obvious reasons. And so, what about for you guys? What are the tech-free zones?
I agree with you. That is where our tech-free zones should be. I'm not always good about it, you know, about not taking a phone to the dinner table or something. Yeah. So I try to, if I'm going to use it, I try to like it be something that we're all wondering, like, well, what's the answer to that question? I was like, well, hold on, I can look it up real quick, you know, but really I shouldn't bring it to the table.
Well, I've watched phones over the years become more and more part of our physical bodies. Right. I remember teaching about this years ago, and I remember saying from up front that I put my phone in my car every night till the next morning. If you were to say that to an audience of people now, like they would, we're with you until there.
What do you mean?
What are you, a hippie?
Yeah, exactly. Or Amish. And so the other, I can say that, right? Can I say Amish? Okay, here we go. They're not listening anyway. That's not okay. Is that okay? That's okay. All right. Their kids are.
Hold on, let us check
it just
with the
keeps
judges.
going. Okay, their kids are listening. Sorry, kids. Okay, the other one, and here's going to be the toughest one, is model healthy tech use.
Oh, it's hard.
It is.
Yeah. Kids are terrible at doing what you say, but professionals at doing what you show and what you model. So to Buck's point of like, I have to like really figure out my addictions, right? And we do. Yeah. We're, you know, and my wife and I, we figure that out too. And the kids will call us out on it. You know, they'll be like, "Why are you on your phone?"
Right.
You know,
I have a lot of pastorisms. Like my pastor is really good, and he always says, "Don't expect your kids to prioritize what they've watched you marginalize."
Come on.
And I'm like, golly, man.
That's it. And this is, you know, when our kids call us out on family rules, I think it's tempting to go, well, I'm different, or I'm the dad, or whatever. I think these are the times going, you're exactly right. It's weird. Landing the plane. I'm just going to blaze through a few more of these is, educate about digital citizenship, and it's just talking about how do you treat people on
Don't
this,
be a bully.
Your privacy, teaching them that everything you put up there is going to exist forever. Monitor online activity, which I know this is such a tough thing, but we've got to stay on top of that. Like, what are you entering into? Support mental health, you know, and with kids and they've allowed me to talk about this, who have somebody who has kids that struggle with anxiety and depression, we have to stay on this. And if your kids are like mine, where it's a chemical thing, like it's even more important for us. I think it's important for everybody, but if you see them struggling, like if you see, I'm seeing anxiety, I'm seeing depression, and it's more than a couple of days or a couple of weeks, is you do not, and I cannot say this more emphatically, do not let that go by. If you see them, you talk to them, you ask them, and there is no shame in the counselor game. I'll say it every episode if I need to, but it doesn't matter what's causing anxiety and depression. You know, you may be overreacting, quote unquote, but we don't want it to ever go to the thing where I can't believe I didn't say something. Yeah. So we got to be on top of, we got to be their advocate because they've entered into a world that they had no choice over.
Yeah.
Right?
It's better to be proactive than reactive.
It's better to be proactive. So I get really passionate about that and make no apologies about that. We've got to take care of our kids and their mental health.
And one practical advice for dads right here for monitor online activity. If they have cell phones, go in the general app, like the settings app. There is a thing called activity monitor, and you can just kind of see like how much time they're spending on stuff, and you help it that way. But try to treat it with grace.
Yeah, there's that, and then it's one thing that I've had to learn as a dad, again, of the 8 and 6, 3, and then 1 on the way. Such a blessing. I've had to learn that if I am going to monitor or I'm going to limit, is I got to step it up in the dad game then, right? In the involvement that I have, because I can't tell them, or I can, but you know, if you're telling your kids, hey, let's get off of the screens. And then you're like, and now I want no involvement in your creativity because now you're off doing something else. I have had to check myself. Like, you know, we took the screens away and they were like, can we paint? And I'm like, no, like, painting is messy. Like, no, you can't. And then I was like, wait, no, yes, go paint. Sure. And so I realized to really, you know, the painting, the everything else that the kids can be creative. Let's go outside. It's Florida, you know, it's hot. No, you can't go outside. It's too hot outside. But it's like, no, relax, let's go engage, let's go have fun and step it up because I don't want you addicted to technology.
That's so great. That was one of the episodes that we've done about unstructured playtime. Exactly what you're talking about. Go outside and play, paint and those type of things. You guys, so good.
Yeah.
So good. Our pro move of the week, because this is so layered, is we're going to ask you to take one of these tips from Dr. Jonathan Haidt in his book, The Anxious Generation. And we're going to have these in the show notes for you to pick one, but I'll just zoom through them and focus on it this week. Open communication, set clear screen time limits. Maybe that's yours. Or create tech-free zones and times. Maybe it's the whole idea of modeling better. I know that one hurts, doesn't it? Educate about digital citizenship, which I know it's fancy, but just getting in there, helping them to get ahead of the game on how they're responding to people. Monitor online activity and support their mental health. And just pick one of those and focus on it this week. We can't do it all at once, right? But this is so important, right? This is so important. And we cannot afford to put our heads in the sand. And boy, it's so easy, right? Because these devices seem to keep, kids, entertained, keeps us entertained. We're tired after a long day of work, but dads, you're doing a great thing listening to this podcast, using technology to become a better dad. We thank you for that. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the All Pro Dad podcast. All Pro Dad is the fatherhood program of the nonprofit Family First. Along with our motherhood program, iMom, we exist to help you love your family well. Subscribe to our daily email, the All Pro Dad Play of the Day, by going to allprodad.com/subscribe and get daily powerful and practical fatherhood tips in your inbox. The All Pro Dad podcast is hosted by me, Ted Lowe, produced by Bobby Lewis.